is a creative wellness movement and home that seeks to empower artists of color through creative therapy by beautifully blending our ancient Sudanese and Kurdish heritage with the healing art forms of music, design, literature, scent alchemy, and bodywork. Along with being women of color, alchemists, and wellness practitioners, we are artists. In combining our spiritual and wellness experience with our artistry, we are able to hold space, empower, and support other artists in creative, inspiring, and impactful ways. Welcome to Haremesque.
All right. I don't even remember how we used to start. Oh, but we have an intro, right? It's fine. I don't care if
Hopefully you've heard the intro, yeah. I don't know.
Okay,
It's
fine.
been a while,
yeah,
clearly.
It's been a very long time. You know, things like COVID. Oh, I don't know if this is going to make noise. I don't really care
Your
anymore.
tea, you know. Anyway, pandemic
Clearly
life.
we forgot how to make a podcast.
But we're here. Still in the pandemic, but you know, 8 months later?
Has it been 8 months?
I think so. Yeah.
Today, we're talking about Tantra.
Yeah.
It's just a general topic.
Yes.
We should start by explaining what Tantra is for those who don't know.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Okay. Shall I answer it?
Yeah, you're the Tantra expert.
Oh my God. So I just want to say I've been studying Tantra a lot this year, especially during lockdown. And okay, so I'm just going to share what I have accumulated in knowledge and practices and all of these things. But what I understand is Tantra's actually kind of really misunderstood. And people think it's one thing, like how to achieve an 8-hour orgasm. And that's kind of what...
Especially in this country.
Especially in the West. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like it's kind of like... And we'll get to that, how, you know, sexuality becomes so almost... Not gimmicky is not the right word, but just like this thing. And then it's like kind of over talked about, but it's all because it's so repressed that
because it's also under talked about.
it's under talked about.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but Tantra, it's almost easier to say what Tantra is not than what it is. And what it's not is, it's not any kind of dogma or religion. People don't even know where it originated from, which is so interesting to me because there's this like mystery around it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, they don't. It's definitely ancient, but we don't really know where it's from. It was never codified. It was never kind of like, no one wrote anything down, although they have now through, you know, stories and whatever, but it's not a religion. It's not something that has like one deity, or, you know, it's just not a religion. It's almost like a technology, like a technique, practices, rituals that I also understand to be super dynamic. It's not calcified. It's not like one ritual that's 5,000 years old that we keep kind of replaying. It's something that can be like organically created from.
So there's no formula.
There's no formula. However, so this is where things get a little not complicated. I don't want to say complicated, but different people have come with like different kind of interpretations.
Okay.
And I think we can talk just on the formula part. We can talk about like the definition of that actual word, right? And we've looked this up before, and we found it to mean weave, like to weave. And I heard a teacher recently talk about Tantra literally means the loom. So you know when you think of weaving something, you need a loom, you need thread, and you need a motor.
Right.
And Tantra is like how we weave ourselves almost into alignment. And what we're reaching for is a kind of connection with supreme reality. That's kind of like that's kind of the goal. So while there isn't, I don't think it's very formulaic, the tantric practices, but there is a goal.
Okay.
And then we use different portals to weave through to reach that goal. So so many traditions we know are very much about almost denying the body, denying the senses to reach enlightenment. So it's very much like how to reach enlightenment, you know, by really not kind of allowing ourselves to enjoy or engage in pleasure or even engage in our bodies. It's like a very kind of, I would say, maybe monk-like type of practice. But Tantra like takes you where you're at, and it uses your desires to like reach enlightenment.
Okay.
And the like thinking, basically this is what I understand, the thinking behind that is that what like we know is supreme reality created the universe out of a desire to experience itself. So we are all like mirrors of the divine. Our bodies are like a map of the divine self. And so given that, like a desire is the base from which all of creation is manifested. That's what Tantra's all about, using our desires as portals, using our senses as portals, but consciously.
Right.
It's not like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna have loads of sex here, there, and everywhere. But like, actually, how can we use something like our body, something like sex, something like food or intoxicants even, to like, how can we use those things consciously to accumulate the life force that we need in life to like elevate ourselves. That was beautiful. A lot, sorry. Yeah. That, and there's like so much more in that. Like there's so much more kind of like Tantra like is all about also, as I said, like the accumulation of life force. Or in India, you know, or they call it Shakti, or in Chinese medicine it's Qi. It's like we have this energy within us that we can actually activate and accumulate to do all the things that we want to do with purpose, with intention, to live lives that we desire. Tantra, like kind of all the rituals and practices, is all about how we accumulate that kind of life force energy and how we don't let it get to our heads. Because there's a Tantra does like warn you, you know, this energy is amazing. If you are not careful, it could consume you because it's power, and power can corrupt, right?
Would you consider that to be ego?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. Because I think that when you get all this energy, and maybe even people who have less of that energy are attracted to you because they see it and they're like wanting to like, you know, gravitate towards it, and then they give you loads of praise, and then you gain fame and power from it. It's like you just want more of that, which can be very dangerous.
Because then it's external, it's not internal.
Exactly. And so exactly that, yes. And that is what I guess like tantric teachers try and warn students against, like, is the energy you accumulate to put it back into yourself to continue like refining and weaving and weaving and weaving.
Right.
And when it's externalized, it just,
it becomes a train wreck.
Yeah.
You were telling me something very beautiful about butter baths.
Oh, yes.
Explain to our lovely audience which is a tantric practice. Well, it's specific to India, right?
It is, yeah.
Well, it's specific to India, but I know throughout other cultures there are things like milk baths and very similar
Exactly.
Rituals. But explain. I thought it was really amazing.
And just on that point, what I really love about Tantra, and I think you'll find this as well, is when I read about my ancient ancestors, like the goddess of Inanna, the Mesopotamian goddess, and she was like the goddess of love and sex and war and beauty and, you know, all the things. Like, when you read about the rituals they were doing, it's very, like, similar to kind of tantric practices that we learn about. And that's what I love about Tantra. But, yeah, the butter baths. Okay, so we were talking about...
codependency.
Codependency, yeah. Which is one of our favorite topics of late, which we can get into. We can definitely segue into that, because Tantra, like, has a lot to say about that, which is what I love about these ancient wisdoms, is, like, all of our modern lives is absolutely relevant, or all of that ancient wisdom is absolutely relevant to, like, everything that we go through today. But yeah, I heard this one teacher explain, it was a Tantra teacher, explained that, like, 5,000 years ago, people, it's a Vedic tradition, I believe, like Ayurvedic tradition, where people would fill their baths up with an oil of choice, so ghee or sesame oil, something golden, or maybe coconut oil as well, I'm not sure, but they would then, like, have a fire underneath the bath, which would warm up the oil, and they would fill it up, so you would immerse yourself in...
So, ghee, for those who don't know, is purified butter.
Yes.
That's, like, and it's...
Yes, and we love it.
Yeah, it's... I think so many cultures have it. It's called ghee in India. In Sudan, we have it... I'm not going to butcher it, but we have another name for it.
Yeah.
And, so just for those who don't know. And also explaining what Ayurveda is for those who don't know.
Yes, Ayurveda. What is Ayurveda? It's an ancient medical system from India that's like 5,000 years old, that has very kind of specific ways of living that bring you into balance. And they have all sorts of, like, different categories. You know, they
believe that every person is made up of what they call doshas.
Yes.
And we're all comprised of all the doshas, but we're predominantly two. Yeah. One specifically, and then there's another one, and it can shift, yeah?
I think so, yeah.
That I don't quote me on that, but you are predominantly...
We're not experts, but yeah.
But just so you know, this is Ayurveda, and we will link to it.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, one of the Ayurvedic practices that they don't do anymore, because obviously who has that much oil to, like, fill a bath with, and also how are you going to discard the oil? So
I think they do, maybe not baths, but, like, I know what I've seen in that, like, Ayurvedic rituals, the pouring of the oil, like, on the head and the scalp and those things. I'm sure they do the baths outside of this country.
I'm sure. I mean,
they're probably diluted, or maybe not.
Maybe not. We don't know, but we can visualize.
I would do that.
Yeah, I would totally do that. But there's this I'll talk about it. There's this tantric meditation where sorry.
Lana almost knocked over a lamp.
And my excitement to share that this is the amazing thing about Tantra is that, or about anything, is we have the miracle of our imagination and the miracle of our visualization. We can literally visualize anything. Like, we can visualize ourselves in a cosmic buttery bath, and I'm sure gain the same benefits, if not more, you know, like I really believe in the power of our imagination. Yeah. But so they used to do these buttery baths, and they were all for, you know, health, obviously, bringing balance, but particularly bringing kind of nourishment and nurturance, as if you're being kind of swaddled by a mother, because as I would understand it is it's like fat of the mother's love. That's kind of what fat, I don't quote me on this, but there's some definition of mother which is equated to fat, I think. Again, okay, don't quote me on that. But so but
soft and squishy,
exactly,
and warm and delicious.
That sounds so maternal.
It does.
And so these baths would happen.
Sounds like a fat, squishy baby. Yummy.
Exactly. So, but we were talking about it in the context of how. So another definition of Tantra that's been explained to me is self-dependence. So it's a very self-dependent practice where you don't need anyone or anything to fulfill you.
Right. Just
yourself. Mm-hmm. It's a very self-loving practice. You are divine. You know, you are using maybe even an image of a deity to reach goals of divinity within yourself, and all of these kinds of things. But so it's not a codependent practice, and it's very much about using these practices, and specifically this buttery practice, this kind of bathtub buttery practice, to mother yourself, because in the West especially, we've really moved away from community in a way, and even some of, even there's this kind of idea that once you even start getting more into your spiritual practices, you even start to move away from your family because maybe they don't agree with like certain things, whereas in kind of the East, it's still so community based, it's still so kind of nurturing in some ways. I'm generalizing, but there's perhaps not so much of an emptiness or void to fill, because you're kind of constantly being mothered by community members, or you're mothering yourself somehow.
You have elders that are like inspiring you to do that and teaching you by example, and you're all within the same community. Whereas the way life is set up in the West is just so lonely.
Exactly.
Once you're 18, you're out. You know, like it's not, unless you live in a really small towny, like, but even still, but like I'm sure there are small communities like that throughout the country. However, it's so rare. Exactly. That's why they have homes for older people.
Exactly.
You know,
it's like it doesn't surprise me that there's this kind of, I'm gonna say this, like this dis-ease of codependency, because
you rely on your partner,
or
you rely on relationship, like other relationship to give you everything.
Exactly.
Which absolutely makes no sense.
Yeah. And it's dangerous. I think it's really dangerous for self and others, and
I think that's where a lot of illness like stems from, because it's like it's not balanced at all. Yeah. So it's like we're seeking everything externally.
Exactly.
But for the most part, we're seeking it in like, I need to find a husband or a wife.
Yeah.
And then we have this person and we rely on them to be our everything, which is unrealistic. And then we're really not happy. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, oh, okay, let me binge watch some TV. Let me binge eat. Let me like drink alcohol. Let me do drugs. Let me do all the things. And maybe even have, like, typically not, because, people get married. Esther Perel said this. She's like, you get married and you have less sex. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, so then you're seeking sex elsewhere and everything's external. And like, you're the last person. You're not thinking of yourself as the person. You're constantly like, and then we have medications. We're overly medicated. Exactly. We have all these disorders. Exactly. And, and it's like, constantly pushing us further and further away from each other.
Exactly.
From ourselves and each other.
Yeah. Totally.
But we think that we want, I don't know, we don't even know what we want. That's really what it is.
It's almost like I'm almost coming to the conclusion, wow, we all just want love.
Yeah.
And we all just want that literal like nourishment and nurturance that we could get from this buttery bath, you know?
Buttery bath.
And like to mother ourselves like really intentionally, because I think that if we are like it's funny you talk about like the drugs and like prescription things and all, and it's like, wow, but we literally have our own medicine within us, you know? And like we're sitting on a gold mine, like we're literally sitting on a gold mine of life force that if we only knew how to activate it and weave it and work it, we would really understand how to like use that in our lives for ourselves and others and literally fill ourselves up so we're able to give from the overflow, like that Rumi quote, and not feel empty. I think there's like this emptiness that we feel, especially in the West, especially in like the industrialized nations, and it is there's a disease, like, you know?
Totally.
And we've been recently talking about it with just in terms of relationships that we've come into, let me say, contact with, or whatever. We've like interfaced with particular relationships where it's like we can feel the neediness from the other person.
So unattractive.
It's repellent.
Yeah.
It's actually like a base on a level.
Yeah.
It's a repellent. And why? Because we know it's like they're trying to get something
from
energy
us that they don't feel they can get from themselves.
Right.
And also, it's like, I think Matthew McConaughey, which I just finished his book, actually. It's so good.
What's the book
his
called?
memoir. It's called Green Light. And I would highly suggest the audio version because he narrates it and does an incredible job at that narration.
Is it like butter?
Oh my God, it's amazing. I don't know if butter was the right word, but he's just an incredible, I mean, if you know his work and you know, I don't know if you know him personally, but like, you know his work, he's just such a charming and lively human, and his life story is really beautiful. And crazy in the best of ways. But he says something about the neediness, and like I was talking about Hollywood, and just like you can't need it, otherwise no one's gonna want you. You know, it's like you have to want it, and that's it, and that's and then just leave it at that. Yeah. And know what you want, but like no one wants a needy. No. You know, person in their life, or just even when you feel needy, that's just doesn't feel good. In me saying that, I'm like, ugh, I'm like shriveling, like it's not, and so then when it's like, it's not attractive, especially when we're talking about romance, when someone is like, it's like, oh, you need me, and like do people want you? Like it's like just if thinking of it from a primal perspective, not even like coming from an asshole place. It's gonna sound like you're an asshole, but it's like, I don't want someone that people don't want. Yeah, exactly. I'm very attracted to. I'm not one of those women that's like, oh my God, get out of the way, like stop looking at my man, right? Like I'm not like, I want you to look at my man, I want you, I'm like, yeah, he's fine as hell, he's attractive, he's amazing, he's brilliant, he's charming, he's incredible, like that's why I chose this person. And I would hope they would think the same thing about me. And it's like, if they're just putting all their eggs in one basket, that doesn't mean like, oh, I want them to go be lustful and like not only just look at me, but it's like, I'm choosing you because I want you, but I don't need you. Yeah. I used to say that. Oh my God, sorry if you can hear the sirens in the background. Don't worry. Everyone is safe.
Yeah.
We live in a Hasidic neighborhood, and this happens every Friday. Twice.
Brooklyn.
So you're going to hear it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to Brooklyn, New York, Bed-Stuy. So, anyway, but what was I saying? So...
need versus want, and being in a relationship with someone that people are attracted to and you kind of relishing in that.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing. It's like, I want you. I was going to say, I actually knew this at a young age. I actually remember saying this at a really young age because I have a friend who we both were laughing about how, like, mean we are, but it's, like, attracts more men that we're mean. And she was telling me, and we were like, ha, 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 men like mean, like, just being stupid. And she was married. And, what did she say? She said something about, she said... Oh, she had, like, an argument with her husband. And she was like, I don't need you. I want you. I don't need you. And I need you to remember that. And I was like, yeah, that's brilliant. And I always believed in that. Yeah. Which is probably why it wasn't challenging for me to be in relationships. I just kind of didn't know what I wanted in the relationships. But I always knew that. Like, I was always like, I don't need any of these people. Yeah. I just want this relationship. Yeah, exactly. I want it, like, this is what I desire. I want this. And if I want a person, I want that person. I'm going to get that person. Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, now it's a little different. I've grown up. Have a very different perspective on relationships. And I mean, I do believe that, though, at its core. That's the foundation, is I don't need anyone but myself.
Yeah. And that's the goal, right? Yeah.
It's hot. It's mysterious. It's fun. It's playful. It's all I think also Esther Perel talks about that in her book, Mating in Captivity.
I'm sure.
Yeah, she talks about this a lot. I mean, because that's just, like, the whole basis of her book. Is that the right language? Basis? I don't even know. Foundation. I don't know how to speak English. Perfect. Sorry, y'all. No. But yeah, no, she definitely... I think basis is right, too.
Yeah.
But,
it is.
Base. Yeah, she's great, too. If you haven't read that book, she also narrates. Right. And she has an amazing, beautiful accent and voice. She does. She's incredible. So we'll link her as well. Yeah. But yeah, like, it's just, like, creating that safe container, but, like, not being so close that you can't really see or appreciate what's going on, creating enough space where, you can appreciate it and you're inspired and you're curious. Yeah. I think she calls it erotic intelligence, which to me is Tantra.
Yes, I think for sure that feels like just right and aligned, and Tantra is all about intelligence. It's like how to intelligently navigate your eroticism, how to intelligently navigate your sexuality, your body, like your senses, all of these things are such magical, beautiful, I guess, assets or whatever, like things we've been given that, if we consciously, like, put intelligently use these portals that we have, then that's magic. Right. That's everything. And I think the problem with, like, dependency, and if you, like, I guess, because we've all been there, that kind of, like, needy feeling, cringe, but that comes from somewhere. And I think, like, if
lack,
it comes exactly, there's an empty void thing that you're trying to fill with something or someone. And I think that food and that's the thing, coming back to the mother's love, and it's like the fat, if you're going for the wrong fats or the wrong foods and you're ingesting that, it's like you're trying to get the love. It's like you're trying to get the love.
What's funny? finish what you were saying, but it just made me think of something.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, it's like we all want love, right? It's like that, but it's just, it's weaving it in completely a misaligned way. And it's like, if you do say you get the guy you want, and great, but I'm gonna like, but you really need them, or you're using them to fill your void.
You want to like hold them down and possess them because of a fear of losing them.
Right, but that relationship's going to be a train wreck.
Yeah.
I'm talking from experience,
all of us,
by the way.
Absolutely, because that's how we're conditioned to be in partnership.
Completely, exactly. And I think for me...
And friendships, a lot of times, too.
Friendships, exactly.
And work. It's life. It's everything.
And it's like because I remember, like work for me was such a validation of my self-worth. Yeah. So it's like...
yeah, because we're working to feel special and like to be praised and...
validated.
Recognized for all these whatever. And it's like most people don't even do what they desire.
Yes, exactly.
Because that's a hobby.
Yeah, it's a passion thing.
But before I forget the fat thing, it's really funny because... In the Western world, we see fat as such a bad thing. Right?
Exactly.
Like, and especially in the diet when it's
fat-free shit.
Yeah, everything's fat-free and whatever.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious because
love.
I eat a very high-fat diet and I'm very slim. And good fats. There's a difference. Not all fats are created equal. Let's be clear. But like because what we do is we eat a high sugar diet, which feeds the insecurities.
Right.
So it's like, I've been there. Like I've had my tubs of ice cream, and you can go back to the crack pie episode where like I've definitely like that is a way of, that's an escape. Sugar is a way of an escape, but
or filling the hole.
Yeah, and it doesn't really do. It's an addiction. Yeah. It's the way that it works. It's so cancerous in your body. Like it's no wonder why it manifests as cancer in some people, but because it feeds cancer. But the thing about good fat is it gives you energy.
Yes,
and your body also uses fat for energy.
Yeah.
You know, and then you also have stored fat, and then you actually feel like you don't need to eat all the time.
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful, I mean, my relationship with my nutrition and my body right now, since I've like completely changed the way that I eat and not relied so much on sugars and all these whatever terrible things that are masked as like sweets and pastries. And not to say you can indulge, like eat things that taste delicious to you, but just know that there's a difference. Like there are healthy ways of eating your treats and desserts and things, and there are unhealthy ways. It's very clear when you're eating what your body needs, like raw honey and you can have those things, and the healthy fats. It's like I can easily 3-day fast. Like it's like not a thing for me anymore. And it gives me clarity and all, and it's because my body has fat stored for energy.
Yeah.
And so it's so amazing. And it's almost like they, that ancient wisdom, they already had that awareness. And if you look at a lot of ancient practices and Eastern cultures, they eat very fat heavy diets still to this day. It's like not fat they're not afraid of fat. It's not something that's scary or taboo or seen as, with introduction of colonialism and all of that, things have been a little fucked because you can't mix the sugars and that's a terrible combination. But
but mother's milk is like
it's fat.
Fatty,
colostrum, which is like the first part of the breast milk, which you can eat today, people, whether you get it from your wife or whatever, but you can get it from like goat's milk, and there's also powdered versions of it. It's such a potent
medicine.
Oh my god, probiotics and there's so many amazing things. It's so good for your gut health. Wow. Like I have some in my freezer from a goat, not a human. But yeah, and it's raw. It's not pasteurized. So yeah, that's funny that you said, just made me think of that. I'm like, we live in this society where we're talking about people are lonely, but we also like have these ideas that like low fat and these like that doesn't
I think we are fed just so much misinformation. We've been conditioned so incorrectly, I want to say, for the most part, and
it's showing. It's showing like with all the issues that we're having beyond just like feeling lonely and trying to fill a void with relationships. Then there's the stress and all like the disorders that we're talking about, which is funny because a lot of these ancient practices don't name them because they don't believe in that. They just feel like, oh, your body's off balance, let's bring it back to balance.
Exactly.
Which is, to me, makes so much sense because when you name something, you give it power. So you name something cancer, or you're bipolar, or you're schizophrenic, or you know, and also there's so much stigma and like judgment around these things. So then you feel like, oh, these people also can't get jobs, and they can't do because they're not normal. Which is great, I think. I think if you're not normal, that's incredible. You're special. I mean, everyone's special, but, you know, like, that's a gift. I personally believe, like, a lot of we won't get into that, but, like, you're super tapped into source. So if you're someone struggling with this, I mean, I'm not a doctor or a psychiatrist, but I think that you're amazing, just so you know. I think that there's something really beautiful about that. Anyway... blah blah blah.
Balance. Oh just how
I
ancient
think it's
traditions
super passionate
don't name.
And go off on
but it's
how fucked things are.
Yeah, but
bringing it back to balance.
Bringing it back to balance, exactly. But it's true. We like, you know, I think we can all agree like we've reached a kind of crisis point where things are unraveling.
Which is good. You have
really
to you have to hit rock bottom, especially with like the way we were doing things. It wasn't working. And I think it's funny, I was talking to someone yesterday and I was like, oh man, it's like almost the end of the year. And I was like, this has been one of my greatest years ever. Yes. It has. And I think like if you are able to see like it's a rebirth.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like
exactly.
Everything has an ending.
Yeah.
So it's not the end of the world, people. You know, I mean, I think a lot of people think it is, but like, even if it were the end of the world, there is a new planet or there is a new. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
there's
It's like understanding that, being like, this is a phase, and it's an important phase, and I think these are the most important phases. The dark shadow phases are so important. I don't know how that relates to Tantra.
Well, Tantra is all about cyclical wisdom. Yeah, cyclical wisdom, you know, we can just take it back to our menstrual cycles, but not just our menstrual cycles, seasons and all of that, moon cycles. We live in cycles. Like everything is a cycle. And that is death. That is birth, death, rebirth, and that's just how it goes. That's
the way the world.
That's how you know.
Yeah, that's everything. The circle of life.
It's just everything. And I think we can never fathom. This is from Tantra, by the way. We can never fathom. Like it's not for us to understand why we are here. I think as far as like, in Tantra they come to the knowledges through, many years ago, deep meditation. People sitting in deep meditation and getting downloads. And I guess one of those downloads is what I said earlier, is like the universe was created from this base desire of supreme reality or source to like experience itself, and here we are, and that's the cosmic joke kind of thing. We're like these magical souls and spirits in these bodies, but the cosmic joke is that we think we're not enough, or like there's something wrong with us. That's the like, you know, we're like these magical beings,
right?
But we're and we're having these human experiences. It's just like, haha, this is like really funny. But what was I saying? cycles. Yeah, so we can't know why. Like, that's like above our pay grade kind of thing. So yeah, like, again, we're having sirens. Like, we're in this pandemic. It could be the end of the world. There could be a rebirth. I know. This very, like, warlike.
Right. Every Friday.
But there is, yeah, like, I think, darkness, then, you know, light.
Well, darkness doesn't also have to be a bad thing. I think
it's just part of the cycle.
We're conditioned to believe it is, and the end, right? Like, there's always, and it's like, yeah, the end and the beginning. When there's an end, there's always a beginning, but we never think about the beginning. We think about the end.
Exactly.
Everything's end result. It's always, like, never the process.
Yeah.
This is the process. We're in the process, and it's like, you gotta just be with yourself. And that's the thing, is, like, a lot of people are forced to be with themselves right now, and they can't handle it.
Exactly. And, you know, I guess the Tantra tradition would say, like, but there's practices and rituals that, you know, you can do. And
well, that's the beauty of it all. And I think it's anything. It's like it's like, let's just use working out as an example. Yeah. When you start working out, you're not in a place where you can run 10 miles with, like, I mean, I don't think anyone can run 10 miles without sweating, but like, feel strong enough to run 10 miles or lift 200 pounds in, you know, like, or squat, like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you have to work your way, you have to build the muscle. And once you do, you're like, wow, this is amazing.
It's a perfect example.
Yeah. But it's funny, we don't want to do that with ourselves.
Exactly.
We do with, like, weightlifting. It's like, it's a physical result for most people. So it's like this, we live in this super, like, what's the word?
Fast food.
Not fast food, but we live in a very narcissistic world.
Yeah.
And everything is external. So it's like, oh, I have a hot body.
Yeah.
That's why I'm going to work out. But then these people are not even healthy. You know what I mean? It's not, you don't have a healthy relationship with it. But I think that's why people are willing to invest in working out before they're willing to invest in meditation.
Yeah.
Or, like, these things that don't actually... And they do have a physical result.
They do.
They really, truly do, which is longer lasting and probably better than any plastic surgery that...
Yes.
But it's not immediate. It's immediate. Like, it is immediate and it's not. Like, it's not immediate...
It's
physically.
a practice.
Yeah, and also it's not about that.
Yeah.
It's about, like, would you rather have, like, your internal, your spirit, and then your organs and your microbiome? Wouldn't you rather have that function like a, like, young, strong, vibrant human before, like, you know, you can look good on the outside, but then your inside is, like, deteriorating.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're depressed. You're anxious.
Yeah.
You can't get out of bed. You know, you're angry. You're all that. Like, what would you rather have?
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather have both, you know, but start from the inside first so that I don't rely on the external things.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I think a lot of people aren't patient enough because that's the immediate part where they want fast food, like you were saying. I want this now.
Yeah.
I can pay for it.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to get it. But it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Because it's like they pay for it, but then they need more and then more and then more. And it's this addiction and it's the ego.
And not feeling, just there's
because they're not enough.
Fulfillment. Yeah. There's they haven't, the buttery bath thing, visualization. Or the mother love, you know, regardless, by the way, of whether you have a mother or not. It's not, it's more like
maternal
cosmic mother, I think, is what
just like yin energy, which is not gendered.
Exactly, and like even just giving yourself a hug, you know, like that's actually a powerful thing to do that will even probably attract more hugs. Do you know what I mean? That's the funny thing, is that once you start filling yourself up with your own medicine and nourishment and nurturance, it actually kind of it's a magnet, you know. Yeah.
I think this is a good segue into asking questions like what, because we provide certain practices, is that the word?
Yeah.
Tantric and energetic and all of that. And so we'd love to know what you want and what kind of content you'd want us to produce around Tantra.
Yeah.
And what you're going through and like what you're struggling with right now. And let us know how we can help and support in any way. And because we are going to create more YouTube content around Tantra and more podcasts as well. So let us know and
to provide you guys with tools and techniques.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
And we'll have another podcast. And now I have an accent. What the hell was that?
Scottish.
Every time we're ending, I act weird. I become like socially awkward. But yeah, anyways, so we'll talk to you very soon.
Very soon.
Bye. Love you.
Haremesque is a creative wellness movement and home that seeks to empower artists of color through creative therapy by beautifully blending our ancient Sudanese and Kurdish heritage with the healing art forms of music, design, literature, scent alchemy, and bodywork. Along with being women of color, alchemists, and wellness practitioners, we are artists. In combining our spiritual and wellness experience with our artistry, we are able to hold space, empower, and support other artists in creative, inspiring, and impactful ways. Welcome to Haremesque.